Hey, what's up, guys? It's me, Avarie. Thanks for joining me for another episode of The Journey, where I talk to people who are paving their way and chasing their dreams.
Hi, Avery. I know you, but I'll introduce myself. So my name is Lauren Michelson. I am currently a junior at the University of Missouri. Go Tigers. I'm studying broadcast journalism with an emphasis in sports. So it's been quite an exciting couple months, to say the least. You're well aware of being an athlete, and it's been a lot. But yeah, I love it so far. I'm involved with quite a few things on campus and off, and it's really been the best 2 years of my college career so far, and I hope for another good 2 years come.
Yeah, for sure. So that's cool. You guys have a sports emphasis. That's cool. So, I mean, you're at a great journalism school at Mizzou, but like you don't get into those things until your junior year. How did you get yourself involved freshman year? Because I knew you were doing some pretty cool things. How did you get put yourself out there and really get involved?
Yeah, so I think so. Freshman year, I remember my parents told me, don't get involved in anything extra until second semester. They were like, you could just enjoy college at first, don't do anything. I was all for it. I said, okay, I'll just enjoy it. I mean, we'll see how it goes. But I mean, I think 4 weeks in, I was just itching to kind of be back to doing something with journalism.
Absolutely.
And there's actually an older woman in my sorority. She graduated. She's graduated now. Her name's Maddie Bacardi. And she told me about a club on campus, which is called MUTV.
Okay.
And it's basically our university's campus TV station. So when I met her, she was a junior and was their department head for the sports department. So ran all logistics and everything. And she said, you need to join. I know you love sports. I know you love journalism. This is what you want to do. This is the place to start. And I said, okay, I'm in. Take me to a meeting. So she walked with me to a meeting. Like I said, like halfway through first semester. And it was super daunting because although it was all students there were only like four other women,
Right.
Plus Maddie.
Mm-hmm.
So I did think that was kind of weird. I had always heard from people that, oh, you're pursuing this career, be ready to have a lot of men in your life. And I grew up with a twin brother, so I'm used to that. I love that. But
Right.
to actually be put into a room where you're already nervous to be joining something new, and then have it be mostly men or women maybe that aren't as friendly, which is crazy to me that you could not be friendly in this industry as a fellow woman, but was very scary. But I went in and I did it, and right away all the men were amazing and so supportive and kind of showed me the ropes. And from there I started just learning how things were done. It worked as a real TV station would, just on a lower level. So they showed me how post-production worked and how what you do in the room while they're anchoring and reporting, and just how everything kind of worked. And from there they gave out kind of like games to cover, games to write, such as that works. And so I started writing recaps for, I think my first one was a basketball game. I think it was like late, God, I can't remember, November. So it was like beginning of the season. And then I started doing some swim and dive, gymnastics. I mean, I did every sport, and I kept writing these recaps on the games. And then the more I volunteered, the more they kind of said, oh, she's working hard, let's give her some more. So they let me start covering some games as packages. So I'd go out with a camera and shoot a stand-up of me previewing the game, shoot the whole game, shoot my closeout, and then go back to the station, edit it all, and upload it on our social media platforms.
Right.
That was really good practice and a lot of work. But it was worth it. And the more I did that, the more people take notice of when you work hard. And so I got more of the incentivized games. And I think that my freshman year, I got to cover Kentucky at Mizzou, which was the biggest basketball game that year.
Sure. Yeah, that's awesome.
And from there, I was like, okay, like this is what I want to do the rest of my life. Like this is what I want to do when I'm here. It's hard because, and you know this feeling, like we go into something, we know we want to do something, but until you actually have that experience, or even on such a small level like I did, you don't really know if it's what you want to do. You can't be 100% sure. And I knew that night. And I'm so forever thankful for MUTV for giving me that opportunity. And I'm rambling a lot right now, so I apologize.
No, you're fine. I get it. No, I get it. For the longest time, I wanted to get involved on campus, and I was like, oh, I'm an athlete, I'm busy, like I wouldn't be able to commit my time to it. But like every single time I'd see something like our radio station was doing, or like there was literally one girl in our radio station who covered sports, and I was like, God, I wonder how she got involved. And for the longest time, it was so hard for me to like just reach out and do it, because I was like, I'm so busy in what I'm doing right now, I wouldn't have time. But like the minute you get a taste of it, you're like, okay, no, that was an absolute excuse. I can make time. I love this for sure. Like I had a class with this girl, and she's like, hey, I know you play sports. I've seen your social media. You're interested in it. Would you want to come to our Friday show? And I'm like, sure. Like I'll come watch, thinking I'm going to come watch. I get a text in the middle of the week. Hey, do you want to write a script for track and field? And I'm like, track and field? Okay, sure. I don't know. And like the minute you do it, like I totally understand. Like, yeah, like this is absolutely, it's like an adrenaline rush in a whole different form that I feel like I've never experienced. Obviously it's not in a field, but for sure, you said it earlier, like you're surrounded by people that support you too. Like that makes a world of a difference. But you just kind of mentioned you realized that's what you want to do. Did you always wanted to do sports before that, or did you just want to do broadcasting in some form?
Yes. I knew I wanted to do journalism from a really young age. I think I was like 7 or 8 years old, and I knew I wanted to like write for a magazine or be on TV or do something. I just loved telling stories, and that is why I'm so passionate about pursuing this career. It wasn't until I was in middle school that I knew I wanted to do sports, and I think that just kind of happened with the family that I grew up in. Our lives kind of revolved around sports, with my brother playing so many sports. And although I didn't play sports in high school besides like track and cheerleading, I grew up in middle school playing like softball and basketball and soccer, and I loved just being out there. But and then my family, like all social settings revolved around sports. So we would have people over to watch KU games, and we'd watch the Chiefs, and we'd watch the Royals, and everything was an event if it had to do with sports. And so living and growing up that way, that's where that love came from. And I was like, I want to be right there in the action. I want to tell these athletes stories. I think what always kind of deterred me from saying out loud, yes, this is what I want to do, was that I am a woman. And it's hard. It's a scary career to get into for anyone. It's so competitive. Takes a lot of work, but to be a woman on top of it, it's crazy. And we see in the news all this week, I mean, Katie Nolan's been bashed on, Maria Taylor's been bashed on, two phenomenal voices in the sports industry. And you look at them and you think they are doing everything right in their careers, and they're still getting hate for no reason other than silly things like appearances and whatnot. And it's scary to say that's what I want to go into.
No, for sure.
But it's worth it. It definitely will be worth it, hopefully. So yeah.
I was going to backtrack a little bit, because you got involved a little bit in high school. I know we got to do caps together, and you got to do I wish to this day I could have done caps for a full year. Like only having a semester was just like, it killed me. I wish I had more. But you got to do a lot of cool stuff in caps and cover a lot of cool stories. Would you say that was like a starting point for you? Sure.
I have a lot to thank to my yearbook advisor in high school, Mrs. Glenn, Deborah Glenn. She met me when I was a freshman, and kind of picked me out and was like, you need to do yearbook. You would be so good at it. You'd love it. You'd love all these people. And I was like, okay, why not? Like it was the plan to always do it, but you're getting me into it a little bit earlier. And she really helped kind of shape that passion of storytelling, and help me find what I'm passionate about and actually see it come to life in a tangible way. Being at CAPS and those experiences was really just an amazing time to grow and really hone in on, yes, this is why I'm actively searching colleges and looking for the best, and why I ultimately chose Mizzou. And through CAPS, I got a really cool internship at which is now formerly 435 magazine, which is now Kansas City's magazine. And I'd say that was one of the coolest experiences, if not the best thing I did in high school. I mean, it felt like, I was working for a real news outlet. I did get some on-camera practice as well. I got to write, my pieces were published a few times, which as a 18-year-old was really, really cool.
Yeah, for sure.
But really it was just that kind of seeing like how a real job would work. It was an internship, but like seeing how the hustle and bustle of that industry around me, how that worked was really cool. And even that, I think I spent a year there because I stayed over the summer before college, opened up a lot of doors for me and helped with connections. And it was just really, really cool. I think the coolest thing I did was I tried out for the Chiefs cheer team, like undercover,
Yeah.
which was so funny.
So cool.
Yeah, it was really fun. It was scary because you kind of had to, you know, put on a brave face. And my editor just called me up one day and she said, I have a really cool thing I want you to do. Would you be in? And what was I going to say? No, like, no way. So I did that and ended up getting a full page in the magazine for it. And it was just a first person experience, which was really cool to ever write about your own experiences. And it had a little bit to do with the Chiefs, which of course I loved.
For sure.
So that was really cool. But high school definitely set me up for a lot of the drive and motivation I have today. And I'll thank a lot of the adults in my life forever. Like,
right. I guess we keep saying CAPS as everyone knows. It's a Center for Advanced Professional Studies, where we went to school. It gave us like hands-on experiences, which was awesome. I know for sure it was a huge step for me because I was like, okay, this isn't just school. This isn't me just being talked at. Like adults trust me. They want my help. They want my creativity, and I get to do it. And that was so cool for sure. And so I remember your stories and I was like, hey, that is so awesome. Involved in, what are you involved in now? Kind of catch us up from freshman year to now with the opportunities you've gotten.
Yes. Okay. I'll try to be kind of speedy. Us journalists like to talk a lot. As you
Okay, go for it.
Yeah. So freshman year, after getting in the door with MUTV, became a pretty dedicated staffer, got to cover, like I said, the first big game was that Kentucky at Mizzou basketball game. And I got to meet one of my idols there, Laura Rutledge. And I mean, like I said, yes, love her. After me, like amazing journalism and strong women and just everything. But, so from there, I covered, golf, tennis, more basketball, women's basketball, like really anything I could. I think one thing I really learned is that don't be afraid. Don't say no to something just because you're afraid you aren't ready for it. And that's one thing I think especially women in the sports industry do, is that we say no because we feel we aren't ready, or no, we don't feel like we're knowledgeable about a subject, or we feel we aren't prepared enough. But that's not it, because if you keep telling yourself no, you're never going to get there. So I think into interviewing for the sports director position at MUTV end of my freshman year. And again, I almost said no to interviewing, not even the position, but no to just interviewing, because I was like, I always would question why. I don't think I am capable enough to do this. I don't think I can. There's many, many guys that would love this position. Why me? Why would I apply? And then I applied, and I remember they called me into the room first out of all the applicants. There's like 20 of us sitting in the room, and I got called in first, and I'm like, oh, so they're going to break it to me first. I'm going to have to go out in front of all these people that I didn't get it. And I was like psyching myself out, of course. And then I went in and they told me that I got the sports director position and were excited for me. And I was shocked and very nervous right away. And that kind of took off my sophomore year. I spent a ton of time pouring into this on-campus TV station, because that's really where without MUTV, I would not be doing what I'm doing today. And I think having an outlet on campus is so important for young journalists. And so sophomore year as sports director, I was able to host with one of my best friends, Jonathan, this show called This Week in 23 Sports, which was all Mizzou sports talk show. It was so much fun. We basically got to write our own scripts every week, cut our highlights for what games we'd be talking about, and just practice that on-air presence that is so hard to kind of feel comfortable with.
Right.
So that with the sports director position. And so it was almost a teaching role for me. I'd be teaching the mostly freshmen and sophomores how the camera works, and how you work a stand-up, how you write a script, writing for TV, writing for the ear, And that was really fun because when you teach something, you learn it even more. And it was really an amazing year, a first semester. And I got to go cover my first couple of Mizzou football games, which was a dream come true. So after doing that all first semester, I auditioned for a sports anchor position on a weekend role. So Saturday, Sunday sports anchor position with another student. So we would split Saturdays and Sundays. I mostly did Sundays. And it was really one of the scariest and coolest things I've ever done.
Yeah.
To kind of like, they have this saying at KMU, death by fire. You kind of just get thrown in and hope you learn and do well. And it was scary for sure, especially the first couple of times I anchored, but you really learned a lot. And I was so devastated when we got sent home because obviously my anchoring position that spring had been cut off, but that's okay because, you know, I'm a firm believer in everything happening for a reason. So hopefully we all find silver linings in all of this.
Absolutely.
And that's where I am now, working for his sports department, primarily covering football and feature stories. And I'm learning, just honing in on my shooting skills, interviewing players after the games for SOTs, which is sound over tape, to go on the newscasts that night. And then just trying to grow social media, just like those little skills that I think anyone can kind of jump on camera and be good, but it's really hard to learn the dynamics of a camera and socials and kind of the harder, more technical things. So that's what this internship's teaching me.
Yeah.
Along with that, I'm the communications director for the Association of Women in Sports Media, which is...
I saw your post about that the other day. Yeah, that's so cool. I'll ask you about that.
Yes, it is like one of the most amazing things I've ever done, because it's a club, it's a national organization, so we call it awesome because AWSM, Association of Women in Sports Media, and they have like a national headquarters, they have chapters all across the country, and it's not just for women, it's women led, but we have men in our organization, of course, and basically it's just like a support system for women to grow their network. So we bring in professionals across the United States to come in and talk to us about their stories, kind of like what we're doing right now, just like how they started out, what they've done, their work, any advice, that kind of thing. And it's just so amazing and uplifting to be a woman and to hear from all these amazing women about how they got to where they are, why they love it, what they do, and so on. And it's really one of the best things. And yeah, hopefully sports will continue to stay present, but we don't know for sure. So just taking it day by day right now.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to be in the life of an athlete and a sports broadcaster when there's not sports, for sure. So I get that. I for sure get that. But I think it's awesome you guys had that club. So me and two of my friends recently just created our own here, and we are still the only 3 girls in it. Still trying to, we
get more women.
Right. But I think it's really important, the part that you said, that, the men that are supporting of us are so huge, because oftentimes I feel like you do hear the stories, unfortunately, of the flip side of it, like the how hard it is to be a woman in a male dominated profession, but to have those men really fight for you and also stick up for you and be able to be those guys that are just as encouraging as the other women, I think is like so huge to highlight. So I'm so happy you touched on that for sure. But I was going to say, you also touched on something else I was going to ask. You were covering high school football, and you were doing that, like you're still currently doing that, correct? Yeah. So I was going to say, for advice for other, just journalists and broadcasters in general, how much is that opportunity like help diversify you and your skills and get your foot in the door into hopefully your future career by doing, so much, by getting to touch the camera, by able to do your own stand-up, to edit? How is that helping you?
Yes. So like I said earlier, never say no to any opportunity. Even like, obviously for me, the dream would be, sideline reporting or anchoring on a major network, NFL network, SEC network, it'd be, it's a very, far away goal that I have a lot to learn before.
Yep.
And then the recent goal would be just to get a job after college anchoring at a station and reporting at a station. So to prepare you for that, obviously once you get to that higher up job, you don't need to be touching a camera. You won't be working behind the scenes. But when you're starting out and you're working, let's say in Knoxville, Tennessee, covering their teams and you're doing everything. So you are on camera and you are reporting, but you're also shooting your own football, shooting your own basketball, shooting your own sports, editing your own thing. So you need to know how to do everything. I think a lot of young aspiring journalists don't realize that. They say, I just want to be on TV. Absolutely. And that's not how it works, unfortunately.
Right.
But I've learned that I love shooting and interviewing just as much as I love anchoring. I mean, interviewing is amazing, but the learning process is so important. So high school football has given me, I mean, without high school football, this internship with ABC was supposed to be mostly Mizzou ball, but because our schedule got pushed back till this weekend's our season opener, we've had to find other things, and luckily high school football is there, and it's so much more applicable as a young journalist to go out there and really learn. And it's trying to find all that storytelling is finding a way to localize what you're talking about. So what is the now in this? And so when I'm covering a high school game, why is this important now? Why do people want to watch this now? And it's not just shooting highlights, it's finding the story behind the highlights. Absolutely. The other day I was in Moberly, Missouri, and they had a female kicker, who is awesome and starts every single game above some of the guys.
Yeah,
and awesome. that was that story angle. And it's really helping and has helped me with every skill, so that when I do cover those bigger games for Mizzou, or when I graduate and I'm covering bigger games, that's my job, I know what to do now. And just like you don't want to go right on camera for a major network and mess up and fall on your face, you don't want to do that when covering a sport either, football or basketball or anything.
Right.
And so that's what shooting football on a high school level has been so helpful, is that I get in those reps where it's not as nerve-wracking as actually covering an SEC game. So it's been really awesome and really great.
Yeah, for sure. Close off, I have some few kind of fun questions and whatnot, but I was going to say, how did you get creative during COVID? Did you find ways to connect with other people? You didn't really have sports. Did you still find a way to incorporate your passion? What did you do during quarantine to kind of still be a journalist,
So I actually focus on one thing I'm really bad about, and I'm sorry if there's some background noise because I'm outside. I'm really bad about once I'm in season, let's say it's the football season, or I mean, I guess I cover soccer, I cover everything, but when you're covering a sport and it's prime season for any sport you're covering, it's really hard not to slow down. So the beginning of quarantine, instead of stressing about what I was not doing, I tried to use it as an alternative and really find what can I do to focus on building up my skills.
Right.
So I grew my LinkedIn a lot. I found a lot of connections and just updated everything. There's a few sports that I needed to learn more about. So for me, that was softball, soccer, basketball a little bit. And so I read a lot. I read so many books on sports, both fiction and nonfiction. That was fun and helped a lot. And then I tried to grow my social media, which again was something that takes, a little bit of time to sit down. But other than that, I didn't. A lot of people started podcasts and YouTube channels and stuff. And I just kind of used it as a time to slow down and evaluate what I had been doing. And we journaled a lot, wrote down goals, and really just tried to learn and refresh. I watched a lot of videos from my favorite sportscasters, and how they project their voice, and learning from them, and just kind of use it as a way to learn, but on my own.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I think it's funny how everybody has like, I should say funny, awesome, how everyone's kind of used like quarantine as a, you know, a time that we all thought was going to be so awful and terrible. And I feel like I've talked to so many people that have either completely maximized their time or they've done exactly what you did by slowing down and just kind of, you know, doing their own thing and also still maximizing, you know, what they needed to get done. So that's so awesome. Who has been the coolest person you've got to meet or interview?
Oh gosh. Okay, there's a few. I got to interview Stacey Dales, who played basketball for OU,
Okay.
and is now a sideline reporter for ESPN. And that was cool because we got to kind of talk about two of my passions, which is storytelling and sports. And so that was just fun because the conversation was so great. Being able to speak to such an incredible woman about what she does and did on the court and now in a professional career. It's hard to pick just one. I'll start. I mean, talking to Laura Rutledge at that Kentucky game was still just amazing. We got to meet.
Were you guys both basically just covering the game on different platforms and you got to like basically run into each other? Or how did that work?
Yeah, so I was like covering, I had just finished my stand up and I saw like her out of the corner of my eye. I'm like, oh my God, that is not her. And it took me about 15 minutes into the first quarter to like actually get up the confidence to like talk to her. And so finally, I don't remember if I said something to her at halftime or if it was a timeout. I did not want to interrupt her work.
Right.
But we were like right next to each other and I was like, it'd be silly not to say anything. So I finally just like said, hi, I'm a huge fan, introduced myself, and she was so nice and gave great advice and just how she is on like TV and her socials and everything. She is an amazing person. And so that was really, really cool. I got to talk to, obviously when you go to a press conference, you get to talk to athletes, talking to Kelly Bryant last year, Mizzou's quarterback. He's no longer with us, obviously graduated, but there was so much hype around him last year, and that was really cool just because it was a really exciting, although he didn't do much for Mizzou, unfortunately. He was fun to talk to. And really, just every press conference, an athlete has something unique to say, and really with COVID right now, just recently got to cover Mizzou athletes put on a march in honor of Black Lives.
I saw that,
and I covered that for ABC, and that was probably one of the coolest experiences. I've got to do Kobe Whiteside, a Mizzou player, spoke a lot, track and field athletes, a lot of soccer players. We only have a women's team at Mizzou. They all were so incredible. And interviewing them and just talking to them was really opened up my perspective on a lot of things.
That's awesome.
Even more so. So that was probably the coolest thing. But really, like, all of it is just so amazing that's why I love what I hopefully will get to do the rest of my life.
Totally. Okay, so walk us through what a, I guess, week of prepping in your life would look like if you were to cover a Mizzou football game, or how many games you have on the weekend. What would like your Wednesday to Sunday look like as a sports broadcaster?
So I guess I can do kind of right now if I was not in quarantine currently. I would get my schedule from our sports director on a Sunday, and that will kind of highlight what every Sunday I'll learn what the week ahead lies. So let's say I'm covering a press conference with Eli Drinkowitz on Wednesday. And then sort of prep for that, I'll just kind of be looking at his social media. If I can get some game tape from the previous days, I'll look at that. Just kind of prep the questions I'm going to ask. Sometimes I don't ask anything. Sometimes I do. It just depends. From there, on a Friday, I'll get the high school games I'm going to cover a whole week in advance. So that story, that newsworthy, what's that now angle that I'm always looking for, I spend like a few days in advance looking for that. So I'll research I usually cover 2 games in a night. So I'll research those 4 schools and see what kind of storyline is there, look up athletes' stats, look up their records with just against the team they're playing that night. see if there's anything like homecoming or something going on to make that Friday special. If they're honoring anyone at half. When I covered a game on 9/11, there was obviously a lot of story angles for that. So always a lot of research, especially with Mizzou football, a lot of research because I need to know. So like Mizzou released their depth chart today. So if I were covering this game on Saturday, I'll be making sure I know what players are starting, if they're healthy, if they're not, what stories there with those who aren't healthy, what are the COVID cases right now on the team. We thought there were 12, now there's actually 7. Then he said there's 9. So that's a huge story always right now. But again, it's just always kind of like, I'm always on Twitter, I'm always on my phone, I'm always reading articles and Googling, and that's to be behind the scenes or interviewing, not even to be on camera anchoring. So right. I can't even imagine when I'm back to anchoring in the spring how much work it'll be, or when I'm actually a professional, it's even more. So yeah. And then on top of that, you're a student athlete. I mean, there's schoolwork, and then I have meetings for Awesome, and then I'm still in a sorority, and I do try and still have a life outside of all of that. So
right.
I like being busy. I'm definitely type A personality, and that's why this career is perfect for me. But whenever there's days where there's like nothing going on, it feels very off, and I feel kind of sad. So definitely the busy weeks are awesome, and it's a lot of just preparation and research and learning about players and teams, and that's what's so fun.
For sure. Your advice to young girls, maybe women attending Mizzou wanting to pursue this field, or just young women in general who want to go and explore the broadcasting journalism field, what would be your advice to them knowing what you know now?
Just say yes to every opportunity. If you want to be a beat reporter for Mizzou football, writing for our newspaper, don't be afraid to say yes to covering some high school games. Say yes to every opportunity. Don't be afraid to ask for help. There are so many people in this industry that want to see you grow and build you up and see you become the journalist that you're meant to be. Every single person I've met in this industry are amazing, especially the women. I've only met, I think, a few that are catty, and that's such a rumor that women in this industry are catty, because they're not. Everyone wants to see you succeed. We empower one another. So be that voice to others as well as for yourself. Be confident in your ability, but be there for others just as much as you're there for yourself. This industry is not just about one person. When I go out to cover games, I'm not thinking, where can I put myself in this story? I'm thinking, I'm telling this person's story. What's going to be the impact of this being out in the world? And those are really all important. And just always be open to growing. You're never 50 years from now, when I don't know if I'm going to be retired or what, but hopefully retired. I'll be old as heck, but you're still learning. You're never not learning. And that's one thing a lot of the professionals have told us, that this is an industry where you are learning something new every day you wake up. And that's what's so fascinating, is that find that love to learn and grow, and say yes and make it happen and believe in yourself, because it's a really hard industry to not. You have to be sure, and you have to have confidence in yourself.
No, I love that. Last thing I have is, what has been the best advice you've personally ever received from someone in this industry, obviously?
That is so hard, because I feel like with all these amazing people I've talked to, I think it has to be like that. I've said it so many times, but it wasn't me that came up with that advice, that say yes to everything. That was not me that found that. Someone told me that.
So I get where you're coming from, but no,
it's something I've taken.
Yeah, for sure. No, I've noticed that in myself. Like every single time that I don't think I'm ready, or I don't think like, I don't know if this opportunity, like, give me some more time to prep. Like every single time I just do it, I'm like, come on, like I could have done that, a very long time ago if I would have just said yes earlier, if I would have doubted myself earlier. So I'm definitely glad we got to talk about that. But thank you so much. This is so awesome. Like everything you said was just awesome. I'm so
I
happy.
rambled a lot, but I hope it was.
No, you did not.
Some of it.
No, I seriously do the same thing. I totally get it. But my whole purpose of the podcast was truthfully to get some people on here that aren't necessarily in the position where they've, quote unquote, made it yet. They're in the process. They're in the grind of, really chasing their dream. And I feel like so often we talk to people that have already made it and they're like, oh, to get here, I, did X, Y, and Z, but you never talk to people when they're actually truly doing it and putting themselves out there. So, I know you get yourself involved and you put yourself out there, and wanted to talk to you about that. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
This is awesome. I'm really excited to get this produced, and
very cool.
So,
I hope it was everything you needed, but I had fun. I always love to catch up with you.
Yes, me too.
Thanks for hanging out and listening to another journey. See you all again next time, and don't forget to